guys? Welcome to another video. Yep, somehow scored that PS5. I don't know how I got lucky. So I've tested this out for a couple of days, and I have to say, from the get-go, this thing is impressive. So I'm going to break down my thoughts into three parts. The design, the performance, and the next-gen aspects that we were truly excited about. And spoiler alert, this includes that dope new DualSense controller. So if you're lucky enough to snag one of these consoles right before the end of the year, this video should go over exactly what you kind of should be excited about, as well as a rundown of things you need to know as you begin to start using this console. Alright, so right off the bat, this design really catches your eye, and it's no surprise that the reactions to it have been quite polarizing, to say the least. I watched the event and a couple of other unboxings and media releases, yet I was still kind of surprised by how massive this machine actually is. Sony definitely envisioned a statement piece with this new console, and I have to say, they've pretty much cracked the code. It's one of those things that really hits you when you see it up close in person. And it doesn't actually fit below my TV stand if I were to place it vertically, but I definitely prefer the way it looks when it's just standing upright, so I haven't actually considered placing it horizontally yet. It sort of has this weird sort of cyber menacing look to it that really grows onto you, and I have to say I'm kind of falling in love with this design. The white plates complement the black center quite nicely, although an all black version would definitely complete the look. Just be wary of how you'd want this console to fit in with your living room aesthetic, because I can say this with certainty, it's definitely going to attract some attention. Alright, so the PS5 boasts some pretty insane internals and specs. This beast of a machine is rocking a custom 8-core AMD Zen 2 CPU and an AMD Radeon RDNA 2 based GPU, along with an 825GB SSD with around 5.5 gigs per second of bandwidth, which is arguably the biggest selling point of this console, purely from, a hardware perspective. Another side note, the 825GB of storage actually comes down to around 667 once you count for system files, so definitely expect to be on the lookout for expandable storage options in the near future, which to Sony's credit won't be limited to a proprietary solution. You can essentially use non-Sony drives as well. Alright, so let's move on to performance. Now, before we take a look at the gameplay, we need to take a moment to appreciate that high-speed SSD. I keep mentioning this, but the load times on it are noticeably better. Tom's Guide and The Verge put this to the test, comparing load times with the PS4 on some of the most popular titles available on both consoles, and the results are pretty staggering. Now, in terms of gameplay and overall visual gains from the previous generation, the PS5 does not disappoint. PS5 gets you that 8K output if your TV can handle it, and gives you 4K graphics at up to a 120Hz refresh rate, although most modern TVs have a standard refresh rate of 60Hz, so there's a big chance you won't actually end up reaping those benefits from the get-go. But there's an element of future-proofing with these next-gen consoles, which is always great to see. The PS5's beefed up internals also translate to enhanced graphical features that were pretty much exclusive to gaming PCs before these next-gen consoles made their grand appearances, like ray tracing. Now, essentially, ray tracing leads to sweet, realistic effects in game environments like reflections in windows, crisp lighting, and deeper shadows, as well as pronounced color depth. And I've noticed these in parts in games like Spider-Man Miles Morales and Demon's Souls, a few of the flagship titles exclusive to Sony's all-new console. With a bunch of these titles, you get the option of switching between the fidelity and performance modes, with the former allowing you to experience the beauty of ray tracing and witness those enhanced visual aspects in game environments at a full resolution, but at 30 frames per second as opposed to 60. So the gameplay in essence won't feel as smooth, whereas performance mode would cut down on those eye-popping visuals, but give you a much smoother 60 frames per second gameplay experience. Now, this is showcased in Spider-Man Miles Morales, but how these modes differ would be contingent on the kind of title you're playing, and we'll get a better idea of how the PS5 adapts to different titles once we get a larger library of PS5 games. So Spider-Man and Demon's Souls definitely give us a crystal ball gaze into what we can expect with ray tracing and the PS5's overall potential, and from what I've seen so far in my time playing these titles, I'm really impressed. Like, these games really do look stunning on the new console. You just immediately notice the superior texture filtering and the bump up in the average resolution. And many people have kind of made this observation before me, the graphical acuity of the PS5 isn't the most riveting feature of this console. Okay, so this brings me to the biggest next-gen feature of the new PS5. And you guessed it, it's the brand new DualSense controller. Besides feeling considerably more ergonomic and comfortable, the controller has two selling points that really give it that palpable next-gen edge. And that's the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback. Now, Spider-Man and Demon's Souls didn't quite take full advantage of these features during gameplay. I mean, to be fair with Demon's Souls, you'd notice it a bit more with weapon attacks and spells, but not enough to really have it leave an impression on you. But Astro's Playroom, which is kind of seen as the controller demo game that comes with the console, utilizes the controller's haptic feedback and adaptive triggers insanely well, like really, really well. So if you caught the PS5, make sure this is the first game you try out. It really sets the bar high for what developers can do with these next-gen controllers. You actually feel and notice the vibrations almost instantly, and the variety of sensations here really is quite remarkable. You can literally feel bits of sand crunching, a splashy sensation when, Astro leaps into the water, and actual resistance and tension when you pull on an elastic band. Now, the most immersive part of the game were the colder, icy levels where you can actually feel your character shiver and tremble and feel the wrath of a storm, per se. And again, it's the wide variety of sensations that make this game a treat when you first try it out, especially when you couple that with dynamic sound effects from the controller speaker, so make sure you don't sleep on this game. This again is a truly immersive experience and really felt actually next-gen to me. And I'm stoked to see what upcoming titles can do with this new controller, and honestly, once we get a larger library, I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot more developers actually make proper use of the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. Now, backwards compatibility has been pretty smooth for the most part, and most games work pretty well and seem to load considerably faster on the PS5. Games like God of War, which doesn't have a PS5 version yet, will offer a game boost for PS5, allowing you to run it in a performance mode that translates to 60 frames per second gameplay versus approximately 40 to 45 frames per second on the PS4 Pro. And a bunch of titles like FIFA 21 are expected to roll out free PS5 upgrades that give you improvements in graphical quality and textures, and possibly better use of those new DualSense controllers. That's pretty much all you need to know, guys. As usual, leave your thoughts down below, and let me know if you were lucky enough to actually snag a PS5 around the time of its release date. I'd be curious to know. Thanks so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe and leave a like as well. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.